What if I told you that letting go of your belongings could be one of the most loving things you ever do for your children? Not after you're gone, but right now, while you're still here to laugh, to remember, and to share stories together. Today, we're going to talk about something called Swedish Death Cleaning. Now, I know that name might sound a little dark or even unsettling, but I promise you, it's not about dying. It's actually about living with more peace, more freedom, and more clarity than you may have felt in years. This practice isn't about throwing everything out or living with nothing. It's about being intentional, about creating space not only in your home, but in your heart and your mind. And most of all, it's about lifting a burden off the people you love the most. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the things you've accumulated over a lifetime, or if you've ever worried about leaving behind too much for your children to sort through, this conversation is for you. We're going to explore what it means to prepare, not just for the end, but for a lighter, more meaningful chapter of life, starting today. So take a deep breath. This is not a lecture. This is a gentle, loving invitation to begin thinking differently about your things, your memories, and the incredible gift of simplicity. Why this matters more to women. As women, we are often the keepers of the home, not just the physical home, but the emotional one too. We are the ones who remember who gave us that teacup set. We remember the story behind the yellowed quilt folded in the linen closet. We are the ones who saved the Mother's Day cards and the baby teeth, the prom dresses, and the tiny shoes from our children's first steps. We hold on to these things because they meant something, because they remind us of who we are, where we've been, and what we've loved. But sometimes, the weight of all those memories becomes just that, a weight, a quiet heaviness that fills the closets, the garage, the drawers, and we tell ourselves, "I'll get to it one day," while deep down we feel anxious. What if we never do? What if our children have to do it instead at the worst possible time, while grieving and overwhelmed? Here's the truth many women carry silently. It is hard to let go because we love deeply. We love our families. We love our memories. We love our history. Letting go can feel like erasing the past or forgetting someone we once held dear. But what if that's not true? What if letting go could be an act of love? What if it could open a door, not close one? Swedish death cleaning, though it may sound morbid, is actually a compassionate, thoughtful way to honor your life while easing the road for your family. It's not a harsh purge or a cold decluttering project. It is a process rooted in care, wisdom, and respect. And for women, especially, it becomes a sacred practice. It gives you a moment to pause and reflect on everything you've built. It allows you to ask, what still serves me? And what might serve someone else better now? You begin to realize that the memories don't live in the dishes or the sweaters or the keepsakes. They live in you. And when you share those stories, they live on in others too. You have spent decades giving to others, raising children, building homes, caring for aging parents, supporting a spouse, showing up for everyone. This is your time now, not just to clean out a room, but to clear space for yourself, to breathe, to lighten the load, to prepare your family, yes, but also to prepare yourself for a life with more meaning and less clutter. And no, this doesn't mean you toss away everything. It means you get to choose, finally, what matters most. You get to decide what stays, what goes, and what gets passed on with love. You're still the keeper of the stories. But maybe now, you can become the gentle editor too, curating your life so the next chapter feels freer, not heavier. Because this isn't about giving up the past. It's about making room for the rest of your life. A story of love, loss, and legacy. Let me tell you a story that stayed with me, one that many women I know have quietly lived through in some version of their own lives. A woman we'll call her Margaret, lost her mother suddenly. Her mother had been healthy for years, still driving, still cooking, still hosting family holidays. There was no urgent warning, just a fall, a hospital stay, and then she was gone. The shock of the loss left Margaret numb. But within days, the grief was interrupted by something else: responsibility. The house needed to be cleaned out. Decisions had to be made, and no one else in the family had the time or emotional bandwidth to handle it. Margaret opened the front door to her childhood home and was instantly overwhelmed. 40 years of living, every closet full, the attic untouched since the 1990s. Her mother had kept everything, from her father's bowling trophies to every single school project Margaret ever brought home. Every object held a memory, but now they were Margaret's burden. She told me, "I cried more from the weight of the stuff than I did from the funeral. I didn't get to grieve, I just had to work." She spent 3 weeks sorting through belongings. Alone. Sorting, boxing, tossing. Trying to guess which teacups mattered, which photos were worth keeping, which sweater might have meant something. She worried constantly that she was throwing away something important, and yet the weight of it all was suffocating. She said, "I wish she had talked to me. I wish we had done it together. I would have asked her about that music box. I would have listened to the story about those earrings. But now, I'll never know." This story isn't rare. In fact, it happens every day. Loving daughters, exhausted by the emotional labor of clearing out a parent's life while trying to hold their own lives together. And here's the part that hits the hardest. Margaret told me that in the middle of the clean-out, she found a drawer labeled "Important." Inside were random receipts, an expired passport, and a broken watch. She laughed through her tears and said, "She meant well, but I had no idea what was important to her." You can change that story. You can give your daughters and granddaughters something far more valuable than your possessions. You can give them clarity. You can walk through your memories together. You can tell them what matters. You can leave a letter instead of a mystery. You can bless them with the peace of knowing they don't have to figure it out alone. And most of all, you can model something powerful, that a woman's worth isn't in what she leaves behind. It's in how she lived, loved, and let go with grace. The gentle path. How to begin the process. Starting can feel like the hardest part. For many women, the idea of sorting through a lifetime of belongings is so overwhelming. It's easier to just close the closet doors and pretend it's not there. "I'll get to it when I have more energy," you might say. Or, "Maybe my daughter will help me next summer." But the truth is, there's never a perfect time. There's just now. And starting doesn't mean tackling the whole house in a weekend. It means beginning gently, with one drawer, one shelf, one corner of the life you've built. Swedish death cleaning, or what the Swedes call Downsizing, isn't about throwing everything out. It's about being intentional. It's a process of asking yourself, what do I really need now? What do I love? And what would bring more joy or peace to someone else? You don't have to rush. In fact, you shouldn't. This is not a weekend project. This is a season, a thoughtful, emotional journey that may take 6 months or even a year or more. That's okay. Start with the areas that feel the least emotional. Your linen closet, your kitchen junk drawer, the clothes you haven't worn in years. Let yourself begin with the easy wins. Feel what it's like to let something go and breathe into that small sense of freedom. Take note of how much lighter you feel, not just physically, but emotionally. Then move to the next layer, the items with memories, the wedding gifts, the books with inscriptions, the things your children made in school. This is where it becomes more than a task. It becomes a reflection. Sit with these items. Hold them. Remember, cry if you need to. Then ask, is this something I want to pass on? Or is the memory enough? A beautiful practice that many women have found helpful is writing small notes and tucking them into the things they choose to keep or give away. If you're giving your granddaughter your mother's old locket, write a note telling her why. Tell her where it came from. Tell her what it meant to you. This turns an object into a legacy. It becomes more than just a thing. It becomes a thread in the family story. If your children are nearby, invite them into this process, not with pressure or guilt, but with love. Say something like, "I'm going through my things, and I'd love for you to tell me what matters most to you." You might be surprised. Sometimes, the item you think they'll want, your antique dishes, your favorite armchair, they don't. And sometimes, it's the little things they ask for. The cookie jar, the worn cookbook, the apron you always wore on Sundays. Give them space to be honest, and give yourself permission to be okay with whatever answer they give. This process is not about perfection. It's about peace. It's about saying, "I'm ready to carry less. I'm ready to live with more clarity." Swedish death cleaning is not the end of something. It's the beginning of something more intentional. And you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to begin. What to keep, what to give, and how to let go gracefully. As you go through your belongings, you will come face to face with all kinds of items, some practical, some sentimental, and some that fall somewhere in between. The hardest part isn't choosing what to keep. The hardest part is letting go without guilt, especially for women, who are often the emotional anchors of the family. Every item can feel like a thread that ties us to someone, some place, some time we never want to forget. But here's a gentle truth. You're not throwing away memories. You're making room for new ones. The memories live in you, not in the object. And when you release something with intention and love, you're not dishonoring the past. You are honoring your present. One way to make this easier is to divide your belongings into a few categories. Things you use and need. These stay. They serve you in your daily life and support your well-being. 2. Things that bring you true joy. Maybe it's a photo of your wedding day, a piece of jewelry from your grandmother, or your favorite tea set. If it lifts your spirit, keep it. Place it where you'll see and enjoy it often. 3. Things you are keeping out of guilt or obligation. These are the items to consider releasing. That vase your sister gave you that you never liked. The furniture you inherited but never use. Letting go doesn't mean being ungrateful. It means being honest. Chapter 4. Things that could bless someone else. Your tools, craft supplies, extra kitchenware, or books. There is someone out there who could truly use them right now. Letting go becomes a gift. 5. Legacy items. These are the treasures you want to pass on. A ring, a quilt, a letter. Limit these to a few meaningful pieces. Too much, and it becomes overwhelming for the next generation. A handful of heartfelt things will be remembered far more than a house full of boxes. Letting go gracefully also means being realistic about the future. If you're no longer gardening, do you need all those pots and tools? If your children are grown, do you need 3 guest bedrooms full of forgotten furniture? If your health changes, will those high shelves and extra steps serve you, or become obstacles? Letting go also invites you to redefine your identity. You're not just a mother or a wife. You're a woman in this present moment. You're still growing, still learning, still becoming. Creating space in your home can create space in your heart for new hobbies, new joys, or just a quiet morning with a cup of tea and sunlight on your face. And remember, you do not have to be ruthless to be free. You can cry. You can laugh. You can take your time. This process is about kindness to yourself and to those who love you. As one woman told me, I thought I was giving up things, but really, I was giving myself back to myself. Peace of mind is the real gift. There is something profoundly comforting about knowing your affairs are in order. It's a kind of peace that can't be bought. It comes from knowing that you have lifted a burden before it ever had a chance to fall on your children's shoulders. It comes from the quiet confidence that your family will be able to grieve without sorting through chaos. That is the true heart of Swedish death cleaning, not just the organizing or the downsizing, but the peace of mind that comes with it. For women especially, we often feel responsible for holding everything together, emotionally and practically. We remember birthdays, we keep track of family health histories, we know where the important papers are tucked away. But what happens if we're not there? Will our loved ones know where to look? Will they know what to do? That's why part of this process should go beyond objects and into the realm of planning. If you've spent the time to sort through your belongings, take it one step further. Organize your documents. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler, the better. Here are some areas to consider. Create or update your will. Make sure it reflects your current wishes. Don't assume everything will sort itself out. Clarity prevents conflict. Designate a power of attorney and healthcare proxy. Choose someone you trust who can make decisions if you're ever unable to. Gather and organize important documents. This includes insurance policies, birth certificates, marriage licenses, titles and deeds, and any end-of-life wishes. Create a master list of passwords and account information. Whether it's stored in a notebook or a secure digital vault, your loved ones will thank you. Write a personal letter to your children or grandchildren, not a legal document, just your voice, your values, your love. Something they can hold on to when they need to feel close to you. This kind of planning is not morbid. It's thoughtful. It's graceful. It shows a deep love that says, I've done what I can to make this easier for you. I once spoke with a woman named Eileen. She had been the caregiver for her husband during his long illness. When he passed away, she was devastated, but also grateful. Grateful that he had left her a binder with everything she needed. There were no questions, no confusion. She told me, he gave me the gift of peace. I want to give that gift to my children too. What struck me most was not just that her husband had prepared things, it was how seen and cared for she felt because of it. It wasn't just a binder of paperwork. It was love wrapped in preparation. That's what we all want, isn't it? To feel seen, to know we matter, to leave behind more than belongings, to leave behind clarity, compassion, and intention. Many women avoid these conversations because they feel uncomfortable. We don't want to talk about the end, but what if we reframed it? What if, instead of talking about dying, we talked about living wisely? Think of it this way. Preparing for what comes later allows you to live more fully now. You sleep better. You worry less. You enjoy your days more. You stop thinking, I need to get to that someday, because you already did. And when the time comes, many years from now, your children will find a calm, clear path instead of a maze. They won't have to guess what you wanted. They'll know, and they'll feel your love guiding them, even in your absence. That's the real gift. Not just a clean closet, but a clean conscience. Not just an organized file, but a feeling of readiness, peace, and grace. The life you make room for. Once the dust settles, once the boxes are sorted and the paperwork is in place, something beautiful begins to happen. Often quietly, without fanfare. You wake up one morning and realize that your home feels lighter, that you can open a drawer and find what you need without digging, that your living room, once crowded with furniture and forgotten things, now invites you to sit, to breathe, to simply be. But more importantly, something shifts inside of you. A kind of space opens in your spirit. You find yourself thinking not about what you've lost, but about what you've made room for. That is the soul of Swedish death cleaning. Not about death, but about life. A new kind of life. A life where the past is honored, but not carried like a burden. A life where there's room for joy, for spontaneity, for quiet afternoons and laughter-filled evenings. A life where you stop managing your stuff and start living your story. For many women, this stage of life comes with deep reflection. You may be asking, what now? After raising a family, retiring from work, or saying goodbye to someone you loved dearly? That question is not an ending, it's an opening. With fewer things to care for, you might find energy returning to parts of you that were long asleep. You might begin painting again. You might join a book club. You might travel, volunteer, or simply spend more time with the people who bring you joy. And here's the beautiful part. You get to do all this without guilt. You're not being selfish by choosing simplicity. You are being wise. You're showing your family that life is not about accumulation, but about connection. One woman I spoke to, named Darlene, told me that after she finished her Swedish death cleaning journey, she felt 10 years younger. Not because she had changed physically, but because she had unburdened her soul. She said, "I didn't realize how much all that stuff was weighing me down until it was gone. Now I feel like I have space, in my home, in my day, in my heart." That is the transformation waiting for you. Not just a cleaner house, but a clearer life. You'll find that what's left after letting go are the things that truly matter. Your relationships, your passions, your health, your peace. And this is what your children and grandchildren will remember. Not the furniture or the fine china, but the way you smiled more, the way you were present, the way you taught them, quietly and powerfully. How to live with intention. You're still writing your story. Every day, you're modeling what it means to age with grace, to simplify with wisdom, to love without clinging, to live with open hands and an open heart. So take a moment now. Look around. Imagine the space you could create, not just in your home, but in your life. Imagine the woman you still have time to become, because this isn't about letting go of the past. It's about making space for the rest of your life. As we come to the end of this conversation, I want to thank you, from one woman to another, for simply being here, for being open to the idea that letting go can be an act of love, not loss. That organizing your life is not just about tidying your space, but about honoring your journey, where you've been, who you've loved, and who you still are becoming. Swedish Death. Cleaning may sound like a heavy topic, but I hope you now see it as something deeply beautiful and freeing. It is a gentle pause, a quiet reckoning, a thoughtful gift you give to yourself and to the people who love you most. This is your time. Not to rush, not to prove anything, just to live more fully, with peace, with clarity, and with room to breathe. You've carried the emotional weight of generations. Now, it's okay to set some of that down. And if you're feeling overwhelmed or unsure about where to begin, just start small. One drawer, one photo album, one conversation. Let this be a journey you walk through slowly, with grace. There is no deadline. There is only your pace. If this video spoke to you, I invite you to share it with your sister, your daughter, your friends. Start a conversation. Sit together with a cup of tea and ask, what would it look like to make space for what matters now? And don't forget, you're not alone. Here at Wise Elders Insight, we're building a community of women just like you, wise, compassionate, and ready to embrace this chapter with intention. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and if you'd like a simple checklist or some gentle prompts to help you get started, you'll find them linked below. You deserve peace. You deserve lightness. You deserve the joy of a life made simpler. And most of all, you deserve to know that what you leave behind is not a burden, but a legacy of love. Until next time, be kind to yourself, and keep living with heart.